very carefully and talk to the people who run first-class or world-class charter schools throughout the United States.
Yes.
And some of them are actually expanding. One of them, the basis school, for instance, which is mostly in Arizona. But they can't come here mainly for two reasons. First of all, they don't fund charter schools quite enough. They don't need as much as public schools, but it's just too low. And secondly, you have to hire so many certified teachers. They hire teachers on the basis of whether or not they can teach, not on the credentials. And these schools are just, they take average kids and they're performing like prep school kids.
Well, on charter schools, we need to look at the regulatory system we've set up for them, as well as the state law on charter schools, to make it easier for people to create charter schools and to support them, and to try to free them of the true burdens that are imposed on more traditional public schools. But let me also make this observation, that we are not going to be able to get ahead on education reform until we pass a constitutional amendment to reverse the Claremont decisions in this state. We need to get behind that. And what the Claremont cases have done is essentially take local control away from the local communities. Now, I'm having a little bit of a disagreement on strategy, I think it is, not philosophy, with some of my conservative friends who fear the constitutional amendment. Let me just say to you that the Supreme Court has now said that this is a state responsibility, non-delegable, to provide an adequate education, and it's the state's duty and responsibility to provide adequate funding for that education. And that's why we have a statewide property tax that largely funds our elementary and secondary schools. And we're kind of wrapped up now, we're sort of in some sort of a limbo state, because we can't really reform our educational system until we get through this Claremont problem. We're at the verge of actually having a ballot amendment on the ballot, supported by a Democratic governor, supported by a Republican Senate, and hopefully supported by the Republican House. That's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to fix this problem. What?
How about you?
Oh, I'm definitely with this. I've been working on this for 16 years. I was the Claremont defendant. We're defending the Claremont lawsuit. We won in the Superior Court, and the judge said, we do provide an adequate education, and the state does provide adequate funding by delegating the property tax and providing targeted aid. The Supreme Court ignored that decision entirely and came up with its own interpretation of the New Hampshire Constitution, which is not supportable. So I support it.
How about House Bill 1607?
Which one is that?
That is the tax credit for business people who volunteer, donate to a charity,
Right.
a charitable organization,
Yes.
and they get, say, they can donate up to $2,500, and they get a 85% tax credit to do that.